Hello everyone. So today we are gonna build a chatbot which is capable enough to book an appointment of a doctor by asking relevant questions to the user and checking with the backend for the hospital data. The simple use case of this chatbot can be if you attach this chatbot in a hospital's website, the user can book an appointment very easily. And chatbot will handle all the cases like how many slots are there, if doctor is available or not on that day. So we have like you can see we have already built a simple chatbot in our previous video. You can see the code of it here, which was capable enough to give some home remedies. I'm going to use the same code and do some modification in it. So you can see we already have, these three files. You can see the requirement.txt file, which we need only like in the requirement.txt file. We have only one thing, OpenAI, that you need to install. You can do it either by pip install or you can run the txt file. And now you can see we have some other file named API key, in which our API key is present, in which you need to put this exact line and replace this open API key with this random string, and we are good to go. So we have already this code, and I did some prompt modification, so that it can act like an appointment booker and accept the prompt. All the other things are the same. You can refer to the previous video for that, and all the other things are the same. So let's try how it's working now. We have just modified our prompt. I'm asking some questions to it. So you can see, hello, I can help you. So it's like asking some questions about symptoms. So I am just putting some. I'm having leg pain, and it's asking for some more information. You can see your full name and preferred name. So I'm just gonna ask, can you tell me the available doctors? So whenever I'm telling this, I'm asking the available doctors, it doesn't have the actual data. So it will talk in a generic way. As you can see, it is not able to book an appointment because it doesn't have a backend data, all the information needed. So it will always talk in a generic way. It can't book the appointment for now. So we'll make it capable enough to book an appointment. So before going to all the technical things, let's see what we want to achieve and what we already have. So we have this user who will query, and we have this doctor's appointment booker. So we made this by just changing our prompt, which was previously giving the home remedies. So now it's a doctor's appointment booker, and they are having conversation with each other. And doctor's appointment booker is trying to book an appointment for this user, but it's talking all in a generic way that we have already seen. So it doesn't have any information about the doctors and the slots and all the other things as well. So we are now providing two functions. One is having the doctor's name, and the second one is having the availability date. Okay. Now we want to achieve two things. One is that conversation between these two should not break. Okay. And second one is that it will only trigger those functions only when they are needed. Otherwise, it should not trigger these functions like get doctors and get date. So it will only trigger those functions only when they are needed. And you can see one more thing, that it's providing these parameters by its own with the help of previous conversation, or if in previous conversation they doesn't have this parameter, then it will ask to the user that the user should give those parameters so that it can fetch the relevant information. Okay, so you can see the get date needed two parameters, so it will give the two parameters by its own. Okay, so now let's see the whole flow. So let's suppose they are having a conversation and suddenly user asked, can you please tell me the available doctors? Then this doctor appointment booker will instantly trigger this function, get doctor's availability. And it will also give the mandatory parameters. And whatever it will get from the output of this function, it will use it as a context, and with the help of this context, it will answer the user's query. So this is the flow of this whole chatbot system. Let's implement this idea in coding. We need a details or data file. Okay, so we'll create that first. Okay, test.details.py. Okay, now the files have created. Here in this file, we'll define two functions. One is get doctor and other one is a get available doctors. Okay, in get doctors, we have a parameter named query, although we are not using this parameter in our function, but in other function, we have a doctor name as a parameter. Okay, that we are using. It's a mandatory thing. Otherwise, we cannot access the availability for that doctor. Okay, so now we have this get doctor and this get doctor availability two functions currently. So now for these two functions, we need to define a tool. Tool means we need to define the structure of get doctor function and the structure of this other function, so that our chatbot will have some understanding about the functions. Okay, so let's just put this code. I've just copy pasted some code from the outside. So now you can see the function, name of the function is get doctor, and we have some given description for that. Yeah, we have some given description for that. And you can see the parameter as well in a get doctor. We have a query as a parameter that in our get doctors, yeah. So we have a query as a parameter. And in our second function, we have a doctor name as a parameter, and we have also given the description for that parameter. Yeah. Okay, so this is a required parameter now. So yeah, we are all set with all the details. Let's go to main file and let's import those two things that we have created. Like let's import all the data from the details files to the main files. Okay. For details, yeah, import get doctor availability, get doctors, and we also need to import a tool. Yeah, great. So we are all set. Now we need to do some like you can see in details, we have all these things, and we have imported our main file. All set. Now we just need to do some changes in our main file. Okay, so we just in here in our main file we need to add this tool functionality here. Right? Okay, so let's do some modification in our like previous code. We have added some tool and tool choice auto. So we'll just make it look good real quick because it's like looking like a fuzzy thing. So let's make it look good. Okay, so the tool call is ready. Now we'll just try to see like if it's triggering our it's about triggering our tool call or not. So in response message, we'll get everything in response messages. So we'll just try to print our response message. Okay, let's run this file. Okay, so now now we have given a simple query. Now we'll just first try to give a simple response, which should not trigger any tool call. Okay, so let's try that first. Let's remove this thing, and let's try that again. Okay, I'm having lag pain. It's a simple response. It should not trigger any tool calls or function call, anything either. So you can see we have got our response here. And you can see in our response, the function call is none and tool call is, which is supposed to be null, because we don't want our chatbot to trigger those things when it's not there. So now I'm just typing to trigger that functions. Can you please tell me your doctors? It should trigger that function, get doctor function. So you can see AI is null, and now you can see here, yeah, in tool calls we have some tool calls. Tool call ID is there, function is there. You can see the function and the arguments as well. In our get doctors, we have the arguments, name query, and the name of the function is also there, get doctors. Okay. So let's try to trigger our second function. Okay, that was get doctor's rate, I guess. I just forgot about that, but can you please tell me the available slots? because it is giving the slots for that. So let's trigger that. In details we have, let's trigger for the slots for the Bob Johnson, because it need that parameter, and in our previous conversation we didn't have that parameter. So it's giving some error. So this error we are getting because we haven't executed the previous tool call fully, and it tried to save in a memory. That's why it's giving error. Otherwise it's fine. We are going in the right direction. Okay. So let's try to complete the code first, then we'll check again. Okay. So just let it be for some time. We'll just try to complete our code, and then we'll check it again. So in tool functionality, we are gonna add our tool functionality here. This is the main code we are gonna add. So we'll first check for the tool call. Okay. So we first need to extract tool call from the response. Here you can see we are getting the response messages. We are just gonna extract the tool calls from this response messages. So response message dot tool call. Now we'll get everything. Okay, so now we are getting the, we need to like if we are checking if we are having any tool calls or not. If we don't have a tool calls, then we do not need to execute that. So if there is any tool call, then we need to execute that tool call, and we'll use that function output as a context for our chatbot to answer our query. So you have already, I think you have already seen the structure. Like we are just looping over our tool calls. There can be multiple tool calls that can happen. So we are looping over all the tool calls. Okay, so you have already seen the structure, right? So in the tool calls, we have a tool call ID and the arguments and the name of the function. So that these things we need to extract from the tool calls. So we need tool call ID. First we need that. So we'll just do that tool call and dot underscore ID that we can get with the dot ID. Okay. So tool call dot ID. We'll get that from that. And now we need a function name that we are gonna need, and we are gonna need some arguments as well. So we'll just first take the function name, tool function name equals to tool call, and from there you can see the response schema. So from that we'll get the function name as well. Okay, that's how we'll extract the function name. Okay, now we need to extract the arguments as well. And these arguments and function name, that is already given by the OpenAI, or you can say by the chatbot. So we do not need to worry about. So we need to load the JSON for the queries because it is in that form. So we are just loading it that. I think JSON is not imported. Let's first complete this tool query thing. So now let's import the JSON file. Yeah, import JSON. Yeah. Now we have our tool query as well. We have all the arguments. Now we need to write a function. Like now we'll check if function name that is provided by the chatbot is get doctor or not. So if tool function name equals to get doctors, get doctors, then we execute that functions. Then we'll trigger that one with the needed parameters. Those were also provided by the chatbot itself, so we do not need to do anything. We just writing the code here. So results equals to, we'll just trigger this function that we have already imported from our details, get doctors, and the parameters that the chatbot is already given, the total query. Here you can see that this argument, we are just giving it as a query. The chatbot have already provided. Let me show you here. You can see the query, list of doctors, it's also provided. It doesn't make sense because we are not using it, but if we are using it, then it will be provided in a correct way. Okay, else if our tool function name is get available doctors, like you can see this get doctor availability, then it will match, then it will execute this function and get the result from it. And it will also get the correct parameter for this. Previously query doesn't matter a lot, so it doesn't matter what query it is giving, but the doctor name will be always be correct. It will make sure that. Okay, so you can see the doctor's name should be there, so that is mandatory. So it will give the correct doctor's name. Now, if we are not getting any functions, so we'll just throw the error. Because the tool call like tool calls is triggered, but we don't have a function name, so it should throw some error. Okay, we need to add one thing, which is a like mode of coding thing. Q equals to true. This Q I'm writing just for the sake of when we are getting error, it should not go as a context for the chatbot. Okay, so if we are getting some error, then it should not give that results as a context to our chatbot. That is the only thing. And I think I should copy paste all the other code because that will be self-explanatory. So let's first append this. I'm just gonna copy paste the other code here. Just give me a second. Okay, let's just copy paste this here. Yeah, you can see. So you can see we are giving we are getting this according to Q. We are using it as a context part, and then we are giving that to our model, and with this context our model will, this is our model now, and with that this is our model now, and this will give answer according to the context that it got from the functions. Okay, now let's try this. This is the only code we have added. Now let's test our code. So I'm gonna execute our code. It's all ready. Let's see how it's working. So it's asking for some symptoms. I am just gonna send that I'm having black pen. You can type anything. It's not an issue because it can take everything. Yeah. Now it's saying, can you please tell me the preferred doctor and availability of the appointment? So I'll say, like, I don't have any preferred doctor, so I'll ask him to suggest some doctors. I'm just saying I don't have any preferred doctors. Can you please tell me the name of the available doctors? So it should fetch all the doctors' names. Yeah, now you can see it's fetching all the doctors' name. So it must be triggering that function that we have already built. So yeah, it's working correctly. Now let's try to fetch our second function. Like, let's see if it's triggering that function or not. So I'm available on, let's give it a date. I'm available on 30th August. Let's see how it will go. So on 30th August, it's like giving a list of all the doctors. Those are available on 30th August with their timings. So now I'll say, like, I'll go with Bob. I'm not gonna give it a full name. So it will again trigger that function, and it's saying that I will book your appointment. Can you please confirm the time? You prefer with Dr. Bob Johnson. So I'll just say I'm available. So I'm just saying I'm okay with 5 p.m. Now it's now you can see it's fetching, like it's booking the confirmation. It's just doing the booking confirmation, and it's giving us a receipt. This chatbot has multiple use cases. across various industries. For instance, it can be utilized for flight bookings, where it can fetch all the available flights with the lowest fares. Additionally, it can be integrated into a hotel booking